welcome to Piping Talks, another episode, another paper. A paper from Canada again. I think you might be the fourth paper from Canada that I have on. So,
Nice.
interestingly, yeah, I feel like I've talked to way more papers than drummers, but two drummers coming up next week. I'm excited about these guys. So we have Matt MacIsaac on tonight rather. This is nighttime for us, but is that how you pronounce your name? Matt
That's right.
MacIsaac?
Yeah. MacIsaac. Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
So I think most of the people that I talked to so far, I've met them in person. Not that they were friends per se before, but definitely met in person and had a conversation in person. But I've actually never met you in person, so this is a first a first for me. I'm super excited to have you on because obviously I've heard of you. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos and we follow each other on Facebook and social media. But I was particularly sort of excited to hear some of the videos that you were posting a few years ago, where you were playing tunes and a different time signature, and it was super interesting with the guitar and the Prague tenor and the pipes. So I'm super excited to dive deeper into that. But before, I'd love to hear from you about like how you started about piping and how you got into the piping world in the
Yeah,
first
for
place.
sure. Yeah, as you say, we've never met in person, but we know a lot of the same people, and it's nice to finally see your face and put a face to the name. Thanks for having me on here. This is great.
Yeah, of course.
So I started when I was 10, I guess, but I grew up in a family of pipers. So my mom has three brothers, and they all play the pipes, and then I have two cousins that are older than me that also played the pipes when I was a kid. So it was just kind of around all the time when we'd be together for family gatherings and stuff like that. Um,
Do you feel
and I
like you
think
had to start it because the rest of the people around you were doing it, or it was just natural?
no, a lot of people ask me that, but it was actually I was kind of obsessed with it from a very early age, and
Wow.
I begged them and begged and begged to let me start and get me a chanter and get me a set of pipes. And finally, when I was 10, I'd been asking for years already, so they finally sent me off to piping camp actually in PEI at the College of Piping. That was the
Right.
first year that they had something. They didn't have the campus yet. James and Kylie McCaddy are there now, and it's grown into this big organization. But at the time, it was just a camp, and I think it was an old Bible camp or something they rented. And
Wow.
R.S. McDonald and Ian Spears and Neil McKenzie, Scott McCauley was running it, and that was my first kind of taste of piping camp around other
Great.
kids that did it. Yeah, so that
Great
was when I was
spot
10. Yeah,
to be there. When you're 10, you have all those big names from Scotland or everywhere just coming over and teaching you. That must have been impressive, but also super exciting to start your career with these
oh
guys.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And they were all in their 20s, I suppose. Who else was there? Um, Dan Kennedy and Dan Kenny, sorry, and David Hicks, who played with SFU. I think they were all there. They're in their early 20s, I suppose. And then there was this goofy, buck-toothed 10-year-old kid that was following them all around all the time, probably driving them crazy. But they were super nice.
That is
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. It was
And
fun.
you're so originally from Ontario or Toronto area, or
No,
is that where you're from?
I'm from Nova Scotia originally on the East Coast. So
Right.
Cape Breton Island is where I was born, and there's a big, there's a big traditional music, fiddles, pianos, bagpipes, guitars, and a tradition there that's been going on for eons.
For a
So
while.
yeah,
I was just going to say actually, I think we have definitely friends in common, and one Glenn Brown, to not name him, but did
yeah,
mention about you, and he said, with Matt it's tough because he plays as well the bagpipes, the guitar, the whistle, and I forgot, and the percussion. And he was like, it's just it's not fair, for the rest of the people. It's just like every instrument just nailing it. And it's true when I listen to the videos you post online. It's like, good guitar, good, whistle. It's just like, you grew up like just playing all sort of instruments?
kind of. I fake it well, I guess. So, I started playing whistle, I guess, before the pipes. I had a little whistle and I'd fool around, try to play like Rowan Tree and Lord Love It Cement and these pipe tunes that I heard my uncles playing, usually getting them mixed up. And there was a piano around too, so I was kind of always tootling away on that, and just teaching myself how to. I knew what I wanted to hear, and I just kept kind of trying it until I heard it. I guess
Wow.
that's what I
That's
did. Yeah.
awesome. It's a good way to get into it. And so you play multiple instrument, and is this what you do full time? Like you teach online, or you play for different bands, or
Yeah, like I spent a long time touring with a fiddle player named Natalie MacMaster, who has a very big following in the States and across the world and stuff. So we were touring quite a bit through the 2000s, and then I joined the military in '09 as a piper, as a musician. So I
oh wow,
spent so I spent 4 years there. I didn't do a whole lot of touring then, and I was playing in pipe bands and stuff through the 2000s, and then kind of gave that up for a little while because I was in Winnipeg for 4 years, in the middle of the country, and then a couple of years ago moved to Ontario because I'd gotten out of the military, and my wife was working in Toronto, and I got into the reserves, also with the military, and then a couple of years ago I started here at St. Andrews College. So I'm the director of piping and drumming now for this boys' school with a pipe band, which is pretty cool. It's an
is
awesome
it
awesome
competing?
place.
Is it
We're
a band
go
that competes? Or
well, we're going to, yeah. We haven't the boys haven't competed in, I don't know. The last time they took them out was probably 15 years ago, maybe, or
oh
maybe
wow,
10 years ago. But they've just been so busy with school events. But now next year we're going to push them into the competitive arena again and start.
nice.
So that it's constantly rotating through, right? Because they're high school
Hmm.
kids. Yeah. So every
Were
year
you
you lose your grade 12s.
Yeah, yeah, you lose the best player, and they
Yeah.
go on to other stuff. Yeah, it's the tough part about
Yeah.
teaching in the school. Is it was teaching something that you always thought you would do, or because you were touring, where you play with like musicians and you band stuff, and
Mm.
then now you're back into more teaching the bagpipes. Is it something that you had in mind, or you were thinking about it, or the opportunity just came up?
Not at all. No, everything, pretty much anything I've ever done has been just it just kind of happened through one connection or another. Um, and so I never really saw it coming. Even a few years ago, and Jim McGilvery and I were talking because I was here part time teaching Tuesday afternoons with them, teaching the wee kids, and then we started talking about, like, could I see myself here sometime? And I wasn't sure at the time, but a couple of years later, it just made a lot of sense. And I like it much more than I ever thought I would when I was younger, for sure. It's nice to teach
Really?
these young guys that I remember being that age and being really excited about piping and listening to all the world CDs when they came out, and like just kind of obsessing and rewinding and fast forwarding and rewinding my favorite tunes and all that, right? So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
really nice to have that connection with these guys that didn't grow up with it but are really passionate about it. So that's pretty cool.
right.
Yeah.
Do you what would you say was like the sort of the hardest part when you took it was your first ever teaching gig that was at this school, and
Yeah.
then you just got into it,
Yeah.
and so you just mentioned you would not have imagined being teaching in the school when you're younger or
Mm.
growing up. Is it what was the pain point, or what's the good things that you are dealing with every day, and you're like, damn, that apart from what you just described.
Um, why I changed my mind? You mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a little more stability, I guess. Something, because I was doing a bunch of different things all the time. I was full time in the military, but then once I got out, I was part time doing that. I was teaching to just kind of like private lessons, and I was playing with a reserve pipe band, and I was doing like 4 or 5 jobs, and I was just kind of sick of trying to balance it all.
Yeah.
And thankfully, this is an amazing place. It's an amazing job, and it kind of fell into my lap, and here I am.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Going back to Natalie MacMaster, was it something too where, I don't know where you were at that time, where you probably out of school, and you got this gig to be able to perform with top artists
Mm.
throughout the world. It must have been. How old were you at that time? It must have been epic.
I was 21, I guess. So I
Wow.
spent, yeah, the first couple of years out of high school, I was in a band called Coolin, which was like at the time, like 99, 2000, 2001, Celtic rock was like the biggest thing. And there was a, so there was this band that this guy put together, and we hadn't met each other until we got to the studio, and we recorded an album and just kind of like made it up as we went along, and then went on tour in the States for like 10 weeks at a time in the van and a
Wow.
trailer. Yeah, it was bonkers actually. It was fun, but like I could never do that kind of touring again. It was just mayhem.
Well, how old were you at that time? You
I
were
was 20.
probably you were
I was,
20.
yeah,
Wow.
2021. And then we stopped, that band kind of stopped touring. And then I got a call one day from Natalie saying, I'm looking for a piper. And I asked around and they said I should call you. And I said, at first I didn't believe it was her. I thought it was a friend of mine. So I
As a
was just,
joke, as like a
yeah,
prank.
as a joke. Yeah. It's like, yeah, whatever. Who, like, honestly, who is this? I'm busy. And they said, no, no. She started laughing. She's like, no, no, it's Natalie. I just want to talk about going out to the States for 3 weeks or so. So I
Did
did.
you
And
know? Did you know the band at the time, or did you've heard of
oh,
her
I
as
knew
an
who she
artist
was.
before?
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. Yeah. She's from Cape Breton, and she's probably like one of the most well-known musicians to ever come out of Nova Scotia. So I knew exactly who she was, and I knew how talented she was. So that was pretty cool. And we went out for our first tour, and it worked out. And I stayed there from there until 2001 until 2009, I guess, and then took a few years off, and then went back out on the road with her here and there. So yeah, I
Are you
spent
still
quite a few years with
actively? Are you still like doing gigs and stuff with the
her.
band, or?
Not with Natalie so much, no. But I have a band called Biola from Cape Breton. It's a quartet. There's two fiddles, Wendy MacIsaac and Maddie Rankin, and then a piano player named Mac Morin. Um, they made a few albums before I joined the band, and then we made one 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Which is
Yeah.
awesome. I listened to it. It's really,
Oh,
really cool.
cool. Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. Actually, it was one tune. Were you writing music on it, or is it pretty like
I
standard traditional stuff?
Yeah, I wrote a couple of things. I wrote one tune on it, and then there's a few of Wendy's, I think, on there, and we played some tunes that we tried to pick stuff that you don't hear very often,
Yeah.
either on the pipes or on the fiddles, and just played around and tried to make it interesting and play stuff we
Yeah,
liked, basically.
it
Yeah.
was really cool. Really good stuff. So you're still managing to, teach, have this job teaching the school, and then on the
Mhm.
side you still try to like do a little bit more folk music and play with bands like
Yeah,
that.
I do. Yeah, I mean the school is really kind of full on and kind of takes over everything. It's a very busy organization, and so the pipe band's fairly busy through the year. But whenever
Yeah.
I can, like this weekend, I'm going to Richmond, Virginia for the Richmond Folk Fest. I guess we're going to play
Oh
down
wow.
there this weekend, and then um, yeah, and then there's a couple of things dotted through the fall.
But it's super important for you to keep that going because that's what you've done the
Yeah,
majority of your career, and you feel like you want to keep that going, right?
absolutely. Yeah, and we're really tight friends, and we just love playing together. It's a lot of fun.
Right.
So yeah,
That
it's important to
helps.
keep that going for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. And when you joined the army, was it pipe band related, or you were a piper for
Yep.
the army? Like, what was the kind of the background
Yeah.
there?
So that changed. They used to, of course, they've had pipers in the military for a long time, but it was always that you had to go in through the infantry and then learn pipes through there, or if you were already a piper, you still had to join as an infantryman. So your infantry first, and then you would move over to the music trade. Um,
Got it.
but for other instruments, for French horn or tuba or drums or whatever, you could kind of apply as a tuba player and get hired as a tuba player and be straight into the band kind of thing. So they started doing that for piping in '09. So that was when I decided that it's kind of like a direct route to playing just bagpipes full time, not having to go through all the other channels, right?
Right. And
Yeah,
what was it like? You were playing at events or like
yep, yeah,
wow,
parades, events. Did a lot of traveling. We went to Holland a few times. Just military support music. So anywhere the
right.
military was, that they had a parade going on or a concert or a ceremony of some sort. Yeah, we travel around and support them that way. Korea, we went to Korea for the 60th anniversary of the
Yeah.
liberation of Seoul. So that was amazing. That was a really cool trip. Really busy, um, but a great way to see the
That's
world for sure.
that is awesome how I mean that was my case. I traveled a lot because I mean I got to see a lot of the worlds because of pipe band and
Mm,
or bagpipes or drum, but it's so crazy how you wouldn't think about it, but you managed to a tour around North America and the world, just playing. You're going to Virginia this weekend.
yeah.
I've been to Korea. It's crazy. Did you ever think that, bagpipe will take you that far and like being able to see so many
Oh
things
God,
and,
no,
live off it?
not at all. I never really I didn't know what I saw myself doing. I knew I just wanted to play them. So when I was a kid,
Right.
listening to folk bands like Battlefield Band or Ozhin or some of those other bands that were around in the '80s. I was just obsessed with listening to it and listening to the pipes and and listening to recordings of solo players and stuff like that. I just wanted to play, and as I got better and as I had some competitive success when I started playing on the road with people, things just started kind of happening and doors opening,
That's
and yeah, it's neat.
yeah.
It worked
Just
out
went
pretty
like
well.
that. That's
Yeah,
awesome. I
yeah,
love that you're just like, yeah, it's neat. Just go to
yeah.
travel everywhere and play the pipes. And funny enough, I don't even know. This is awesome because I'm learning so much just talking. But I don't think I know if you've played in any bands or pipe like competitive pipe bands in your career. It feels like it's been a lot of sort of folk music and playing
Yeah, yeah,
in bands.
mostly. Yeah, for sure. When I was 12, I guess I played in my first pipe band in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Um, I lived in Moncton at the time, which is about 2.5 hours one way. My dad would drive me on Wednesday nights, and we drive the 2 hours to get to Fredericton and go to band practice. That was a grade four band, and then I got to the senior band the next year. Um,
Same band, right?
yeah, just did like grade two instead of grade four. So I moved
And
to the
they
grade two band.
wait, you guys went to Lorient, right? In Brittany. Did you do the festival in Brittany one year?
Yeah, they have. That was after I left, I think, because
Because
I
I
was
do
only
remember seeing the band there.
yeah. So I know they've been at least once, maybe even a couple of times. But yeah, I was in the grade four band, then the grade two band, and then my family had to move to Nova Scotia, move back to Nova Scotia. So I joined Halifax Police at the time in '94, I guess, when I was 14, and that was a grade one
Wow.
band, and then we became the 78th Highlanders Halifax Citadel. So I was there until '99, I suppose, and then I started touring, and then I played with
Got
them a
too
few
busy.
times through the 2000s, but not a whole lot. And then Spirit of Scotland started in '08, and I played in that band for that project. That was really cool. And then 2016
Yeah,
again. Yeah,
that must have been a really cool project. I
yeah,
mean, both
it
years,
was.
but especially the first year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you always interested in playing in the band, and just the opportunity came, and you just started talking to the guys and joined the band, or were you sort of actively looking to play for rather the band in grade four and grade two, Fredericton,
Hmm.
or the Spirit of Scotland? Was it something that you were actively looking for?
Um, when I started, I suppose, someone I think someone told my parents that um, the person I was taking lessons from in Moncton at the time, because my uncles didn't live close to me, and so I was going to someone in Moncton, and she said, "I can't really teach him anymore. He should go to Fredericton because they have a good pipe band program there, and there's kids and lots of people my age." So that's what I did, and then it was funny though being 12 and 13, and then playing in a band of when I moved to the senior band, it was all in their 20s and older.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which looking back to me, it was great. I thought they were the coolest guys in the world. And looking back, I can't imagine being in a pipe band with a 13-year-old. Like it would be so
Yeah.
strange. Yeah.
As now that
So
you're on the other side, you'll be like, who's that 13 years
yeah,
old? Just
exactly.
doing.
It's time for you to go to bed. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I really seek that out. The Spirit of Scotland thing kind of happened, kind of just by chance. Khalil
Yeah.
Cappuccino is a good friend of mine. He's do you know Khalil? Khalil
Yeah.
plays bass with Halifax. Yeah, so he was playing with Spirit of Scotland already, and then he said, "Do you want to play in this thing? Because I bet it would be, I bet Roddy would have you." So I said, "Yeah, absolutely." So I think he talked to Roddy. Roddy reached out to me,
And it
and then I
happened.
got in there. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
it was pretty neat.
interesting. And then you came back for, what was it, 13, 20? No,
Yeah, well, we played a concert in 2012, and then 2016 played in the Worlds again.
2016.
Yeah.
That's right. I didn't know that. It's awesome. And then, so obviously I started knowing of you from the YouTube videos that you were posting. It was a few years ago, I guess. It was
Yeah,
pre-pandemic, and then you did a few
more than a few.
since.
Yeah.
And I really hope you keep them coming. I know it must be quite a lot to come up with the editing and all that kind of stuff, but that was now you have a lot more people that are doing it. Lincoln Hilton was doing it for a
Hmm.
bit, and super crafted and stuff. But I
Yeah.
remember just pure guitar and wicked tunes just on the tenor, and it was great. But you also had something where you would say, and you did "Smelling Fresh" from James Duncan Mackenzie, which is
Mm.
such a cracking tune. I think
It's the
FM
best.
played it
Yeah, I
that
love that
year.
tune.
And when I
Everything,
when I
everything he
heard,
writes is like gold. It's ridiculous.
I know it's so
He writes
good.
so many good tunes.
And FM played it that year, but you did it in a sort of interesting time signature that I think you wanted to
Mm.
do more like tune. What was the? How did you come up with it? Like, what was the project that you were, working on?
Um, I I don't remember why. I think because I was listening to a lot of Fluke, the
Right.
Irish band, and they had a couple of tunes in Seven, like slower tunes, but I love that lopsided rhythm. Um, and I don't know, I was just kind of screwing around with different tunes and just trying to play it in a different time signature. So all that just kind of came out of well, this is kind of neat. I wonder what it would sound like with guitar. And then I'd play, I just kind of vamp on guitar and record it, and then I'd play over it, and it sounded kind of cool. And then most all those videos were all just kind of like they were just one take. So I had to like I did some of them quite a few times in a row because if I I'd get to the end and screw it up or something because I never wrote anything down either. I only wrote it down after I did it. Um, so
Oh,
I
so you were just flying with it, see how it goes.
yeah, so just kind of it's always like improv. Everyone in the band in my band here, I can't play. I find it really difficult to play something the same way twice. So I'm constantly switching grace notes or playing something different. And I have to really think about it, or else someone's going to say, "Is that in there now? Like, are we doing that now?"
Wait a
No, no,
minute.
no. Don't pay attention to me. But anyway, yeah, the smelling fresh thing. It was cool. I only started it as something to do, I suppose, because I just gotten out of the military, and I just wanted to put some music out there, and I just kind of put out what I wanted to put out, you know. And
Yeah.
it was a little bit
It
different at the time, I suppose.
Were you so one text you would record you playing the guitar first, probably to help with the rhythm, and then you put the
Yep,
pipes on it, or was it
exactly.
the opposite? Yeah,
No, it was
got it.
guitar first. Yeah, yeah.
And
And
then you
it's
took
so much
it
easier to lock into it, to play the guitar first and lock into that with
because
the
you would
chanter.
listen to it as you were
Yeah,
playing, right?
yeah.
That is, yeah, it's awesome, and you can see, it's funny. I mean, it's probably the same with this, but you can see the progression. The first video, and then second, and then it's just the camera got better, and then the sound got better. I was just like, wow, this is awesome. There's one where you played. I think you're demoing the private channel, the Blair electronic
Mm,
chanter, and you're
yeah.
doing what is it, the handshaker.
The handshaker.
uh
Yeah.
yeah, that one is epic too. Are you planning on coming up with more like this? Are you planning on maybe doing an album, or how do you want to take it? further.
Yeah, I'd love to. I love doing them, but it's getting started like everything else. As
Right.
if I can start it, then I get into a zone, and then it takes, I spend 6 7 hours recording, um, because
Do you have a studio at home?
kind of, yeah. I mean, I moved. I live on campus now on the school, so I've got my own spot and stuff, and I've got the gear. It's just not plugged in, basically. Um,
Mm.
it's finding the headspace to sit down and like figure something out. I've done little demo things and stuff in the last couple months, but only for my own purposes, really, just for ideas, Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you
but
think you
that's the
could?
plan. I'd like to do some more for sure because they
Yeah,
are
I
fun.
mean, it sounds like you were having fun doing these videos. I also like how transparent you were when I think at one time it was really hard tuned to play or at that specific tempo, and you were like
Oh yeah,
take
when I
take number five,
was doing one of
and
that,
I was
yeah,
like, you don't see that often. Sometimes you see the end product, and you're like, wow, this is so cool, but you don't know what
yeah,
happened before, right? So,
yeah.
and we talked about you being able to play the piano and then the percussion, the pipes, the whistle, and the guitar. You could be a one person band. Like, are you like, is it something you think about? You're like, I could put a few tunes together and play everything.
Uh, well, kind of. I mean, I've thought about doing an album like that. Um, whether it'd be any good or not, I don't know. And it's a lot of work. So
Yeah, I imagine.
so
I
I've been saying
imagine.
that for like 20 years. I think it's just a matter of getting off my butt and doing it.
And doing
Um,
it, yeah,
yeah, but that's in
um
there somewhere. It'll come out eventually.
well, hopefully, I enjoy watching them, and I hope people are listening. If they go online on YouTube and type your name, they should be able to find those videos. I'll put a link in the bio too. But um, just good, just wicked content to listen to. So I
Thank you.
hope you keep them coming. And so you mentioned a band. Do you have a band here in Ontario, or
Yeah.
where you're based?
Yeah, we got the boys band, the academic school band kind of thing, and then we started a grade two band about 2 months before COVID hit. So we
I mean,
had, yeah, we made it a
two band.
medley.
That's
We had a
very
medley,
two
and
band.
it was, yeah, it was. We didn't really know what grade we'd be in, um, when we first competed, but we went through the grading process here, and then they came out and listened and said we'd play in grade two. So
Wow.
that's all right. Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a good first year. We've had the same medley for 3 years and played it twice. So now we're already tired of it, but I want to we're gonna have to give it another year, I think, and put some polish on it. I think.
And are you
So
planning on competing?
yeah, yeah, we competed this year. It was pretty good. We had some good results. A couple of seconds, so that was decent. Um, and next year we have some more people coming in and actively kind of recruiting. So yeah, the school really wants to have a pipe band that'll go out and play at a decently high
Level.
level. Yeah,
Is it
have
kind of
somewhere for the
like,
boys to go, kind of thing.
I was just gonna say, is it something where, and it's so funny because you have a lot of schools that have a band, and kids learn to play the drums or the pipes, and then just leave school, and then they kind of like don't continue, right? But
Right.
you have St. Thomas in Houston, that they have that sort of like next level. If you want to continue and you're older and you can join the band.
Yeah.
Is that sort of like what you're hoping to do with that band? Is like,
Yeah.
okay, all
Exactly.
those grade 12 can go
Yeah.
up.
Just we want to have the whole system for them to start, and then the intermediate band, and then hopefully something to get into and go to another level, kind of thing. Yeah.
Right, right, right. Are you pipe
Yeah.
major? Are you leading
Yeah.
the band?
Yeah. And then
Got
Jim
it.
McGilvery is pipe sergeant, and Dave Fenton is the lead tip.
Right,
Yeah.
that's not a bad leadership.
It's pretty good. Yeah, they're
That's pretty
pretty
good.
good guys. Yeah.
Right now, I'm like, yeah, great too. Sort of makes sense. And how was it putting the medley together? Is something you enjoy, doing?
I do. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
What is it that you're like, wow, I love it. It's awesome. What is it? What is it that you actually enjoy doing when you put a medley together?
Uh, the harmonies, I suppose. I like coming up with tunes that I just like coming up with tunes that flow into each other, that complement each other, but they also stand up on their own. You know, um, I'm not a big fan of um, modern, not modern hornpipes. I don't know how do I put this. I like classic tunes and maybe putting a little bit of a twist on them. That's kind of the fad right now, anyway, right? But I do like that. I like doing it. I like writing harmonies and hearing them played by a group of people. It's a it's pretty neat to be able to. I say neat a lot. It's it's interesting to
Rewarding.
hear. It's interesting just to hear all those notes together in different combinations, like bands have been doing the last couple of years, like Inverary and Field Marshal and Power and Shots, and they're all starting to experiment a little more with harmonies and not being so afraid of notes that maybe rub together for a bar or something like dissonant notes,
Hmm.
but then treating that as tension like they're meant to be. Um, I
That
like that a lot.
That is interesting because most people I talk to would be like, yeah, like the transitions, in between tunes, or picking some tunes that are effective and work with my, the core, or the people. But the first thing you mentioned is harmonies. Is it something you've always been drawn to, or
Mm.
when you listen to the worlds, for example, you paying closer attention to harmonies?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, pipe sound and harmonies. That's kind of all I listen to when I'm
Have
listening
you
to the
always
world.
been? Have you have you always been like that? Like, is it something that
Pretty
you're like,
much.
wow,
Pretty much,
really?
yeah. The drumming will stand out to me if it's ridiculously good. I admittedly, you know what? Look at this. I started. I
You're
started
moving to the good side. You're moving to the
practicing.
good side of
Yeah,
the pavement. Right,
yeah.
got it.
Dave's making me play doubles, so that's
See?
fun. Yeah.
So
And
wait,
now I'm driving
so
everyone nuts at school because I'm doing it every chance I get. Pick the sticks up, and now I know what it's like when drummers are always playing and pipers are tuning. I understand now that it's kind of
you
fun.
just want to
It's
play
fun to
them.
do.
You got them in your hand. You just want to,
That's right.
bang on something.
Yeah.
Wait, so should we see you as a drummer next season in the band, the Grade Two band?
No, I'm afraid not.
No, not
I'm
yet.
going to try to learn a 2/4, and then we'll see where we get from there.
Wait, that's awesome that you're
Yeah.
like wanting to
I, wa-
learn.
I just want, I want to understand it, and certainly for the boys band too. I want to know the scores, and I want to, like I said, understand the technique behind them. So
Yeah.
so if I talk to them about something, I know what I'm talking about. You know,
Just like me
something like
talking
that.
about piping stuff and harmonies where I'm a drummer,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
definitely know what I'm talking about. But
You must play
I,
other
w-
instruments too, Glaren, though.
I played the piano. I played the piano for a few years. My dad is a music teacher, so I had to do
All right.
something, like piano related.
Yeah.
I mean, he said it was the. I think it's true. If you learn the piano, you learn the scale. You sort of like know, you can read music and stuff. I did bagpipes for a year or two, and just didn't continue. But drumming was
Didn't
just,
take to it.
well, I think it's like when you know the level of effort you need to put into anything to get to a certain level where you can have fun and play whatever tunes you want.
Mm.
I think I was like, it's gonna take a while, and I just
Yeah.
didn't want to spend that time. Where drumming was, I was already decent, and I was like, I'm having so much fun just being
Right.
a drummer. So
That makes sense.
um, but are is there any sort of like, you're talking about harmonies and you're talking about different bands that are playing sweet harmonies? Is there something in the
Mm.
past, like, obviously not a couple of years because of COVID, but this year at the Worlds, did you listen to the Worlds, a band, or even like in the past 10 years where you thought in terms of harmonies a band really had made a leap forward and had an impact on the way they did it? If you can name
Absolutely.
like a few
I was
bands.
I was thinking about this before we jumped on here because you asked me about. You said you were going to ask me about that, so I was trying to think about it, and I think what did it for me in the last 10 years was Inverary, um, the medley with the Grim King, called the Grim King. It was a 2016 or 17 or something maybe. Um,
Okay, a few years ago, yep.
yeah, it was. And those harmonies were just like they were so different and haunting and dark, and it was so different. I thought than a lot of other stuff that we'd heard up to that point. And then I think after that, I might be wrong, frequently am. Um, but I feel like after that, other bands started pushing their boundaries and pushing their envelopes a little more too. Um,
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
That is
Uh,
interesting. And you were listening to it and you were like, "Oh wow, this is different." When you say like dark, like what is it in terms of like note selections and stuff like that? You felt like it was unique.
yeah. Like typically, if a pipe band was playing a C in a slow air, it would, you'd typically hear like E's, low A's, and high A's. Um, but they had C's with F's and high A's and low G's, and it was just a lot of really cool chords that they were making. And
Hmm.
some of them were pretty rubby, some of them were dissonant, but because it was Inverary and the pipe section was amazing, they
Yeah,
could pull it off. And now I hear Field Marshal doing that more than I think they did before. Um,
interesting.
yeah,
Huh.
again, like there's probably bands that had pushed that kind of stuff before that medley in particular, but I just that tune and the way that medley was constructed, I thought was just brilliant. Yeah,
That
stuck
was
out.
your favorite in the past like few years, like that medley that year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, um, I'm a big fan of their medleys anyway. Just like the Coppermill Studio one, the build up with most of the pipe core playing one note, and then you hear the rhythm kind of come in, and the drums
Yeah,
start playing the jig. And yeah, I was just like bang on, loved it.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, solid band. Pretty good band. I haven't had anyone from Herrera yet, but I'd love to know the story. Actually, I got fortunate enough to when I would go to Scotland. I one time stayed with Gus Sickert, who's on the French drummer,
I was just gonna say Gus. Yeah,
and Stephen McCruder. They used to have a be roommate in an apartment in Glasgow, and I stayed a couple of days. And I think I attended one of their practice, just a pipe corps, and they were putting the end of their medley together. I can't remember what year it was, but it was just awesome to see. I mean, I was playing with Boggle at the time, and
mm,
I had the vision of one band, but seeing how another band was doing it, I mean, it was, I don't know, 10 years ago probably, and I still remember it. So
yeah,
just the level of thinking that went behind it, it's always awesome. Every band, and that's why I'm doing it. It's like, okay, what
yeah.
went behind the scene? What was it that made the harmonies so special to you? And who was behind it and how it came about. So
Hmm.
just super curious about that in general. um
I like that. I like
uh
the that idea, Glaren, that you want to talk to people and get the backstory about certain tunes or medleys or videos or sets or whatever it might be.
yeah,
It's really
I
neat to
mean,
hear that kind of thing.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I think it's just a begin. I'm just interested in the videos that you were putting online. I've never met you. I thought they were wicked. It was awesome, and I was like, is it one tech? Is it two tech? And what was the thinking behind doing that time signature and stuff like that? And then
Mm,
I was having conversation with you, and I hope people can listen to it and then listen to those videos and be like, oh wow, that's now it makes sense, or now I can appreciate it slightly better
yeah,
differently. So
yeah, right on.
yeah. What's next, do you think, for you? So you hoping to take the school band and the grade 2 band to competition sort of next season,
Yeah,
and playing for folks band as well?
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, the boys band. We have a lot of stuff coming up this fall and spring. We usually do a concert in March, so that'll be 2 nights, like a 2 hour concert kind of thing. And
Wow.
last year the theme was water, so we did a lot of water themed kind of tunes and songs and stuff like that. This year is going to be fire, so I'm working on some stuff. I actually put it on Facebook and asked for pipe tunes with fire in the title or you know the 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 theme or whatever.
Who
Um,
comes with who comes up with the themes? Is it you or?
Me, yep, yeah. We had
Nice.
like the thing's been going on for years, and it's always been a concert. The pipe band was kind of like the centerpiece of it, and then Jim brought me in to play guitar for the boys, like as backup kind of thing, as when they're playing Steam Train to Malig or or some of the other big pieces that they were working on. And
Nice.
yeah, so it was always like a really well done, well thought out concert. Last year, I just felt like I want to have like one kind of unifying theme around it, and have the visuals and have the, like voiceovers for, introducing the different tunes and stuff like that. We had a kid in middle school. He was in grade 7, I think. His name was Tristan. He's from London. So we had him read all the voiceovers and stuff. There was like this little British kid
Because
talking
of the
about,
accent.
yeah, talking about water and Gaelic, and it was so good. Um, and yeah, like water sounds and stuff as people are walking in. There's dry ice
Wait, is it
coming through.
online? Like, can people watch it?
No, we didn't record it last year. We might do that this year. We'll see. But it's in the school theater here, which is like a horseshoe kind of,
Right.
3 sides kind of theater. It's a great spot to perform in. So
So that's a big event because you have to put all the tunes together and
and they have to learn
all the
them.
harmonies.
Yeah, and then they have to play them well and blow their pipes
And
down.
then,
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So that's big thing.
Yeah. So the school is busy, and then hopefully do some competing myself next year. I only played in 1 or 2 contests this year, but I do miss it.
You mean
so
solos?
I'd like to. Yeah, yeah. I played in the Alistair Gillies Memorial Recital Challenge at Piping Live this year, and then a couple of other like online things toward the end of COVID.
Do you enjoy the solo competition aspect of things?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it gets me playing, and yeah, it gets me
And
to
look
pull up
forward
my
to an
socks a
event,
bit.
and yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, see people that I know and miss. And,
Do you
so I like
play
to
in?
do some of that.
Do you compete in Scotland as well, or do you ever like go over to Scotland and sort of compete, or is it mostly like local or online?
Yeah, well, I played in Scotland in August, but I haven't been over to a Scottish contest since 2010. I guess I was over for a few weeks back then, but
Oh, you were over
um,
this past August.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah, it was fun. Great time.
No playing. Were you playing or?
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
played a recital on the Tuesday, and then a workshop, and then played in the Alistair Gillies contest. Yeah,
oh, I see. And you were not playing in a
not in a
band
band though.
or?
No, no, no. I just went and walked around and
I mean,
listened
it
to
was
the bit.
lovely.
Although
I
you know
wasn't
what,
there,
I
but
was
it
so
was lovely.
disappointed because I was so looking forward to seeing the bands tune up, but it was so bloody hot that no one was playing. They were just kind of standing with their backs to the sun the whole time. So
Is
I
that
didn't get to
right?
see his. Yeah, I mean that's what you do, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, it just
got
wasn't
it.
quite the same as a nice overcast day,
That's right. You
drinking a
should
beer and
tell all
listening to 6/8.
you should tell the people that played. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't there, but I heard it was brutal. Yeah, it was
It was
super hot.
super hot. Yeah.
Which doesn't happen often. And okay, so you've got that was the band, hoping to do some solos, and then you're obviously going down to Virginia this weekend. Any other
Hmm.
gigs that you have coming up?
Yeah, there's one in Ontario here, Sault Ste. Marie. Um, the band's busier without me. They do stuff
How do
quite
you feel
often that I
about
just
that?
well,
Can I-
it's I can't make it all. I can't
Yeah,
take time away from school that often. So I do what I can, and then when I can't, there's a very capable guy named Kenneth McKenzie that fills in on the pipes.
nice.
He plays the fiddle too, so he works out pretty well. So yeah, I do what I can again, like I said, but
Yeah.
can't do it
Well,
all.
going down to Virginia would be fun this
It
weekend.
will be, yeah, yeah. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
it. A
nice.
couple
I
of
guess
days.
with the COVID restriction between the US and Canada kind of being a little bit better, it's going
Yeah,
to
it's
be
not too
a
bad
good
now.
one to travel.
Yeah,
Sweet.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time, but thank you. It's already 45 minutes in. I
So
felt like
good.
I didn't know. I mean, I've heard of you and I've watched videos and stuff, and I know you were as good as playing the guitar and the pipes and all the stuff. But it was great to have a conversation, especially the harmonies part. I felt like I was surprised, but in a good way. Most people would be like, "Oh, the intros were awesome," or the last few reels were awesome. But I feel like
Mhm.
things that you pay attention the most is harmonies, which is unusual. I mean, I don't know, to me at least.
Yeah, harmonies and just the overall ensemble, I guess. How the midsection, especially the midsection, if the midsection really stands out, um, I enjoy that. I like aggressive midsections, I guess. Or bass. I like it. I like it when the bass gets in there and like and does stuff and makes it like brings out the bottom end. I like it. I don't think the bass drum could overplay. Well, maybe they could. I don't
What's
know.
a good example that you've heard from like an awesome bass drum in the past, like a few years, and you were like, "Wow, that bass drum is really bringing it up." And
You know what? The 98 Frasers, 99, 2000, when Haas played when they played Wife and Milldust.
right,
And boom, 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 and then he dropped out, and the snares played with him. I thought that was the coolest break I'd ever heard in a pipe band. I thought it was
yeah.
amazing. Yeah, I loved it. It
Did you
was
hear it live? Like, were you there and you were
no, I
like, "Wow,
wasn't there
this is
live.
awesome"?
No, no, just on the
Recording.
CD. Yeah, just the recording, and then I found a video of it on YouTube the other day, or a couple weeks ago, I should say. But I just thought that was brilliant, just musically brilliant. The
Yeah,
dynamics and the rhythm of it, because you don't hear the bass drum played like a boron very often, right? I just
true. Yeah, yeah,
maybe that's for a reason. I don't know, but I like it when people do that once in a while, tastefully, of course. But
yeah.
you
I
know,
love to hear from a piping perspective. What they how they perceive midsection or snares, and it's funny because you did, I don't know if you said that because I'm a drummer, but you did say I'm paying attention to the harmonies, and then when a good drum corps, like a solid drum corps or bass, stand out, then I'm paying attention to it too, and
mm.
it's great to hear. I feel like drumming or a big part of
Yeah,
the
well,
band,
it's
so
it's the whole band, right?
yeah,
It's called a pipe band, but it wouldn't be a band without percussion and without dynamics. So I appreciate it when it's done really well, and yeah, I I like it when people push their instrument as far as they can, um, and when if a bass drummer is going to play 16th notes, um, if they're doing it well, I think that's the coolest thing in the world. You know,
yeah, yeah.
like
Is there
like
anything?
DCI stuff. Like you see the guys in the US and the lines and all the tenors and
Yeah.
all the different size bass drums and stuff. I think that stuff is pretty badass. I'd like to see more of that, to be honest, in pipe
In
bands.
pipe band?
Totally, absolutely. Gives
Why not?
us
That's
something
awesome.
to lock into, right? Like I'd love to hear something like that or play with something like that.
It's funny. I was talking to Bruce Gandy last week, and we were talking about the Live in Ireland concert and Journey to the Sky, and he was talking about how the drummers were not so excited about playing rhythm and not proper Scottish style drumming, and it was
Hmm.
really hard and difficult to get them to actually do that stuff. But the result at the end, it seems like one of the right
Yeah,
thing to do. I mean, it was epic track, right? So something along those lines is what you have in you're thinking about.
yeah, absolutely. Were they playing like was that singles they were playing through that last bit like after
Yeah.
the quads after the rototoms?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, you have
yeah, it's so
singles
it's
and
so
just
effective. It's
percussion.
not yeah, it's not maybe it's not terribly challenging to play, but it's so effective, and that there's a lot of place for that
Yeah,
in music,
that's
obviously.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, love hearing different perspectives and how around the same circle, how people actually look at the other person or their other instrument around in the band. So that's
Mm.
awesome. Um, cool. Well, thank you so much. I know it's 7 p.m. for us
Yeah,
in New York and Toronto. So thank you so much for jumping on. Had an awesome conversation. So appreciate it.
absolutely. Nice to
And
meet you.
yeah,
Thanks for having me
yeah.
again.
Likewise. Have fun in down in Virginia this weekend, and
Thank you.
I'm sure I'll talk to you online or something at some point. So,
Absolutely.
all
Sounds good,
right.
man.
Take it easy.
All right.
Bye.